You're on.
Meeting is being recorded. Thank you, Willie. Hi, welcome everybody. We're going to talk about spirituality tonight. Not spirituality, intuition. It's all the same, right? uh, so let's see. So first, Willie did ask me to talk about remote viewing, and I thought that's not an area of expertise. I have done training on remote viewing in a few different ways. The reason I choose for it not to be a focus of mine is because what we found over the years is that remote viewing has a lot of limitations. And so it wasn't something that really called to me. I have some experience with it. I've obviously have done some trainings. The thing is with remote viewing, what they found is you can get a target, and it's a very specific target. You go to it, and you might walk out of a building, say in New York City on Wall Street or whatever, and or downtown Lafayette. Let's use that. And what you might find is you go out and describe everything you see, everything you hear, smell, taste, touch, etc., and go back and bring the information back. And everybody, it could leave everybody scratching their heads like that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. The problem they found is they traced that back many, many, many years later and found that it was the exact description. The tough thing was getting the time right. So you don't know exactly the timing. And that's really hard because time and space don't really exist. If you look at the quantum world, that's just a whole different time and space are a construct for the human mind, right? To be able to make sense of everything, sort things out, and be able to do A, then B, then C, then D, and communicate with others about that. So remote viewing obviously is just not my favorite. As a transformational coach, I have worked for many, many years with intuition. I used to train. Part of my training was remote viewing when I was training to teach intuition courses. And the differences that I found were so tremendous in usability that I felt like remote viewing just wasn't for me. So I kind of just put that out. Can I do it? Yes. Do I really enjoy it? No, because we don't know what we're going for. I think even the popular remote viewers today, the ones who use true remote viewing techniques, will tell you the same thing. They don't know exactly what they're getting. And a lot of times they don't know that it was very helpful until after the fact. Well, perhaps a corporation or a particular entity may need that information in that way, and maybe it serves them. But the ones who are getting the whole experience are not just using remote viewing techniques, they're using a lot of intuition as well. And I find for my use and what I teach when I'm teaching on intuition or spirituality or health or transformational coaching, even when people come to me for, this is silly, but I've got car issues right now. I'm going to tell y'all a funny story. One time I was doing Bikers for Babies in Kansas City. It was a March of Dimes fundraiser for babies born with disabilities and things like that. And so I participated in this for a few years and on the back of a bike. I was not the one driving the motorcycle. And my partner at the time who was driving, I'm behind going, oh, that gas tank doesn't look good. And we're way out in the middle of nowhere in Kansas because it's quite a route that they take you on. And I thought, yeah, I've been on this a year or two already. I know by this route that we're not going to make it looking at how much gas is left in the gas tank. And I asked, and he said, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Somebody's probably going to have to go to the gas station that's, I don't know, 50 miles away and bring us a gas can. So I decided to start talking to it and start working with it. And I used my intuition and a whole lot of other things. And we made it to the filling station. So it's important to remember our intuition isn't just about, my focus was for many years in chronic and autoimmune illnesses. It's not just using it for one thing or for whatever businesses it is you're in, for predicting, what the day's going to be like or the weather when you're gardening, whatever you want. It's not just one thing. If we tune in and learn to use our intuition in a usable way and we practice it more than daily, the more we practice it, the more easily we'll be able to tune into it and be able to get those messages, not only get them, but understand them and be able to translate them into a usable form. What can I do with this information? And it might save someone's life. I've literally been through that. I'm sure most of you know that story, so I'm not going to repeat, well, one of those stories. um, it may help you make the decisions on what to invest in. It may help you decide where to go on vacation. It may be that you just the silly things we use it for every day, like which pair of socks should I put on? If we keep using it that way on a regular basis, we'll know what it feels like in the body, where we feel that. Sometimes it might come in, we'll hear it, we'll see it, we'll taste it, we'll smell it, we'll feel it. Each person might be different. Sometimes we'll just have a knowing that we can't explain. But the more you use it for, which breakfast should I have or which pair of socks to put on today, the more we'll be able to understand when something big happens, and we'll be able to tap into that and recognize, I better pay attention to this. I will tell you that the times that I've not paid attention to my intuition were the things I've regretted most. And intuition will often be polar opposite of what logic will tell us. Logic or think it's might say, oh, no, that's ridiculous. Don't be silly. All the things we're told growing up in society by our parents, by our teachers, etc. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever logically. But when you know that you know that you know, and you feel it and you go, yeah, but my gut's telling me this. I've never gone wrong that way. I've never gone wrong that way. So one thing I did want to bring up, Chu, do you remember the question you asked me, I think last week about intuition?
Yes. Just by looking at the two words remote viewing, I at first I thought that I thought that's like you at one place you're looking at some other place that's remote, like a different place. But later, I think that remote also means time. Even we know we don't have time. It's kind of like it just in the things, the vision you see. It could be from the past. It could be from the future. That can relate to the word remote too. Yeah, that's. I think my question asks you what the remote exactly means. Means the space or time.
Thank you. Because I remembered that you asked something that really was, I felt like very fitting for tonight. And I thought I wanted to be able to cover that, and I couldn't remember what you were asking. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
So with remote viewing, and Chu is right, you picture it as something remote. Is it in time or space? Well, it's both if you buy into the time and space construct, which we have to as humans. Um, it's both. The hard part is the target. You might get the target, and the target is often given as a code like SR52789JQR, whatever the target name is. It's some obscure, it's just a label to stick on there that somebody has already attached it as a meaning to what they want to have viewed. They don't tell the remote viewer, hey, you're going to go look at the stock market on July 5th of 2024. They just say target SR ABC 123, whatever it is. Okay. And you don't know the time, you don't know the date, you don't know the object or the location, you don't know the situation or the subject. And it could be describe what you see on what's today, July 22nd, 2024. Okay. It's gonna be, they're gonna attach it with that label. You'll go in and you might describe the world, or you might describe Florida, Panama City Beach. You don't, but you, because you don't know where you're going, because you don't know the timing, you have no idea what you're looking at. So they draw, they give impressions that they get, but remote viewing will put you in a box, because remote viewing gives specific parameters and techniques, and you have to follow the protocol and for it to be remote viewing. With intuition, you get a lot more information that's usable in the moment, and you can what some people may think of as remote viewing, but you can get a feel for what's coming in the future. What's coming for me tomorrow? What's coming for the world tomorrow? Some people have a specialty in looking at some of that stuff with the mundane stuff is what it's called, but the world or location type stuff. The biggest thing that I find that's more usable about intuition is deciding for yourself, what is my next step? And it's learning to listen to that, learning to feel into that. You can do things. And I want to give something that's usable here, because I find a lot of talks that I see sound so far out and so wonderful, but do we come away with anything usable? And I've attended many talks and it's exciting, and then everybody leaves and goes, yeah, but what do we do with it? How do we do that? And so hopefully I can give you some little tips to be able to take away and use in daily life to be able to learn to start tapping into your intuition. I'm sure a lot of you already have said, oh, I have a gut feeling about that. Ding, that's your intuition. Trust it, learn to trust it, learn to go with it. Or you might even say, about a situation, something smells fishy here. It doesn't smell right to me. That's your intuition. Or I just don't feel good about doing that. That's your intuition. And so different ways to learn to begin to purposely tap into that would be to notice what you notice while you take a walk. Feel where you feel what you notice in your body. It's often in the heart and belly, the chest and belly area. That's the heart space. Because the heart is so powerful and operates at a frequency that just goes on and on and on, and has such a huge field. It doesn't just take up this little bitty spot in the chest for the heart. It's the whole chest belly area usually. You feel it in there. You often will say, my gut's telling me no on that. Well, that's where you feel it in your body. That's where your intuition is talking to you. And what is the intuition even? It's your connection. It's your higher self coming in and saying, hey, listen, I'm trying to tell you something. I'm trying to give you guidance here. So practice by taking walks, but make every step an intentional step. Before I take my next step, I'm going to decide I'm going to use my left foot. I'm going to lift, and we're going to be very specific. So it's a slow walk. I'm going to lift my left heel and pick up the rest of my foot and start moving forward, and then put my heel down on the ground and stop and notice what you notice. or if you don't really have time to do that and you want to get a good feel, if you are taking a walk out in nature, and I'm using nature because it's a very easy way to begin tuning into the intuition. We're more present with ourselves when we're in nature. We're more present with our higher selves, with Mother Earth, with nature, with the all that is. And that all that is what is speaking to us if we're willing to listen. So even if you don't have time to take, 15 intentional steps or an hour practicing this, you take your walk in nature or on your morning walk if you go for a morning walk, and just go in silence. Notice what you notice. What do you hear? Where do you feel that in your body when you hear a bird chirping or when you see a butterfly fly by or when you smell the flowers or if you smell the fumes from a car passing by? Where do you notice that in your body? What thoughts are you having around that? Start to notice that and tap into that and feel that in your body. And even on your walk, ask yourself if you get to an intersection or when you're driving, which way should I go now? Maybe it'll take you a different way. I can tell you one time when we lived in Alaska, I think I've told this, so I'll be very brief, that we were going into Anchorage and I had an appointment and we couldn't find the cell phone. And this was back when there was flip phones. They were fairly new. And in Alaska, that's a dangerous thing to be without your cell phone, because if you could have an avalanche, you'd be stuck on the road for 3 days and you couldn't tell anybody. If you hit a moose, well, you probably won't make it to call anybody anyway. The moose survives it. The people don't. The car doesn't. She was laughing. You probably have heard something like that before. But we could not find the cell phone, couldn't find the cell phone, couldn't find the cell phone. I got out and searched. We looked every nook and cranny, couldn't find it. Turned back around, went home, my daughter went to get out of the back seat, and I looked and it was just sitting there on the floorboard. I knew I was going to be late, but when I got back to the spot where we turned around, I timed it. Someone had a horrible, tragic accident with a moose.
Okay.
And didn't make it.
Now
And
I
that
got it.
would have been us. So even though it's not intuition that made the cell phone disappear, it was my intuition tell me, look for the cell phone. Why would I think to look for a cell phone while I'm driving? Well, especially back then, we didn't have smartphones yet, and if I had the cell phone, I had the cell phone. If I didn't, I didn't. But something made me. And I thought, listen to that. Because I could have just said, well, we'll wait till we get into Anchorage and find it. It's things like that. It can save your life. It can bring wonderful experiences. Oh, good. David and Dion made it. Hey, y'all. It can bring wonderful experiences. Maybe on your walk or on your drive, you're meant to go a different route. If you trust your intuition and follow that, perhaps it's meant for you to meet someone and have a conversation that may give you information that will be incredibly useful. Or maybe you meet a new friend that you wouldn't have met otherwise. So we never, ever know what it is that's going to or have our intuition lead us to, or why, but trust it. I've even gotten intuition about, let's move this investment. And, when I was married, my husband, who's an engineer, and he was the one who invested, that makes no sense whatsoever, because he was very logical, methodical. And I said, yeah, I don't know. I just get a funny feeling. But he learned to trust me on it because he saw too many times where it worked. And so we changed it, and thank goodness, because it saved us when that old investment went straight down. um so I mean, it could be that, it could be you notice, maybe you're in a mall or something and you get a funny feeling and you go, not there, not going to do that. And then you get out of the situation, but turn around, there's a noise or a racket going on, and you turn around and you see there was a problem, and you might have been in it if you wouldn't have trusted your intuition. Chu, you have a question? Honey, you're muted.
Yes, I have a question. Like, while you're talking about we trust our intuition, but a lot of time we live with somebody, and what if we use our intuition, that person, the other group of people, you know, they may have their intuition. Do you think it's possible we could have feel something total different?
That's a fantastic question. I do, and that will depend on the situation. Also, some people, it may be that you have two different goals, okay? That can split the need, and therefore your higher self is telling you what you need for your experience, and the other person's higher self is telling them what they need for their experience. It could be that one is more in tune than the other, and the other one's going, no, 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 this, then no, that doesn't make sense. This feels more right to me. And it could be two very, very different scenarios, right?
Mhm.
It, you have to trust for yourself, knowing that what is for your highest good is automatically going to be for everyone else's highest good around you. That may not look pretty. It
Right.
may look like, oh, what if your kids are saying, no, my intuition or my gut is telling me this, and nope, this is the decision for the family. Maybe your kids say, I told you so, mama. If we'd have done this, then that wouldn't have happened. But as mama, you recognize that their experience would not have been for their highest good. Yeah, they may suffer in the moment. They may miss out on going to the show with their friends. Or it may look worse. What if they get the flu? And you're thinking, oh my gosh, where did I go wrong on my intuition? They got sick. I should have listened to them. Not necessarily. If your intuition was saying this and they were saying that, and you went with your intuition and they got the flu, maybe it was necessary for them to have that experience, to have either some growth or learning, or that they ended up bedridden. And what if, while they had the flu, their friends got in a car wreck going to the show? And sometimes we never know what would happen if we would have gone the other way. But again, you trust your intuition. You trust, as long as you're tuned into your higher self. I mean, and there's a process to that. Because if you don't trust that intuition, or you do trust that intuition and you still don't get, well, nothing became of it. Maybe you never found out that there was an accident. Maybe you never found out that the kids who all went to the show went to a restaurant after and got food poisoning. Maybe you never find that out. But that's where we have to accept that what is for our highest good is truly for our highest good. It doesn't mean we have to be nosy and understand it all. Oh, sorry, Billy and Sue.
Sorry, I didn't realize he had put the hand up. We just got a message from Ricky Leger. You know how he just got disappeared? He said, we just lost power in Houston, no internet. The weather there, it's raining pretty hard. Probably here, a tree went down, he said. That's what his intuition is telling him.
Tell him thank you for sharing. That was so apropos, although I'm sorry he had to go through that.
I just got the text from him, so I guess I was wondering where he went because David and Dion came in and Ricky left.
Oh.
He said they just lost power, so evidently something happened.
Well, I'm glad it was just that and not something major, or we hope. We're going to trust his intuition on this one, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. So we don't know what happened over there, right? Ricky feels like it's just a tree, but maybe it's something else. But by him believing, and this might answer your question, Chu, a little bit, like if we have differing opinions of what our intuition is telling us, or we're getting a different intuitive hit. It could be that he thinks it's a tree going down and he feels that, and that's his intuition. So that keeps them calm and they feel like, it'll be fine. They'll repair the line. Everything will be all right. And it keeps them from panicking. And maybe it keeps his kids and grandkids from panicking or feeling or experience the panic by knowing maybe something more tragic that happens, right? So sometimes their intuition will do things like that. We don't have to know. We don't need to get nosy. We need to, I hate to use the word trust, but we have to learn to rely on ourselves. Not the ego self, but the inner self. The inner self that is connected to higher self, that has that direct divine connection to the creator of the all that is. Not something out there that we think is sitting in the clouds on a rocking chair with the glasses going, if you don't do this, we've had some wonderful discussions on the Elohim that we're learning that might be what that is, right? Don't trust something because someone's telling you to. Trust what you feel inside, what you know inside, even if it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You have another question, Billy?
I have a comment. It just occurred to me. Trump had a hell of an intuitive thought to turn his head right at that right time and only get a clip on his ear. Just a thought.
That's a good thought, because we have to recognize that people with that much status didn't get there without learning to use their intuition.
Exactly.
And they have a lot of tricks up their sleeve. They've learned a lot. They have studied these things. But a lot of what they've studied involves the intuition as well, and learning how to transmute energies and things like that. But without that intuition, we don't know. And we just never know. That was an obvious instance, right? We can obviously see if he turned, it just grazed him. It didn't go in. So we see evidence of that. We may not see evidence of our decision based on our intuition, but we again have to just know that it's there for a reason. It's also a very protective mechanism. And I believe the reason it's so protective is that our intuition is an innate ability to be connected to the energies all around us through our higher selves. Our higher self can look out and say, I see this coming 10 miles up the road. Doesn't anybody have to potty on the trip right now? Or, I don't know. I don't really have to go to the bathroom right now, but I'm just going to pull over and we're going to take a rest stop anyway. That might be the higher self saying, yeah, I see what's going on in the future. In 10 minutes, if you don't pull over now, you'll be in it. You just never know. Yes, Chu?
What you just said trigger another question in my mind. And the remote viewing, how does that relate to manifestation? Because we know our thoughts have power, right?
Mhm.
When we think it's intuition, and do you think if we have a strong intuition, come on,
Where'd you go?
He loves our meeting. He always come to join us.
Very
think that-
intuitive.
do you think that also help our manifestation? If let me give you an example, because it's hard to. We all know manifestation, right? And like my husband bought a lot of new phones for us one time. He just wanted to update us. And then while he was, but we need to mail back all the old phone, right? So while he was trying to mail that, I just have the feeling, like it's the gut feeling. I said, hey, we have 5 phones. I said they need to give you more than box to. For some reason, I just said that. I said they can't just give you $2. They need to give you $5 for each use the phone or old phone, so you can mail back, get credit. He said, "Oh, they will take care of it." And eventually, after he went to, I forgot, the UPS or FedEx, and anyway, the phone company said they didn't receive the phone. So that's now I'm thinking, is that because I was thinking about that problem? Oh, you know, or I should think about something different. Anyway, I don't know how to ask you, but you probably got my questions.
So yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. Was it a feeling you had, or was it you were worried about something?
It's just from nowhere. He got the phone first and came back and get it. Everybody, updated the user new phone, and I saw he has $2. He said that he's gonna mail them back. I just immediately the thought just came to me. I said, hey, you need to have $5. Why did they give you 2? And then I thought that's just my concern. It could be a logic. See, that's also then how sometimes it's hard to tell it's logic or it's just the intuition. It's just come out of me without anything. It's just from nowhere. I said that to him, and then stuff happened like that.
That's probably your intuition. If you feel like the more you get to know your intuition, you can check in and go, do I feel that? Or am I coming from fear in my head? Right? And that would be one way to tell, because the answer to the question about manifesting, through remote viewing, no. Through intuition, possibly, because everything interplays, right? Frequency is frequency, and there's all kinds of frequency going on everywhere. And actually our whole lives are just a big dance, right? Everything dances together, hopefully smoothly, because sometimes we have these collisions and go, oops, 2 left feet, right? And it doesn't seem to work. But that's if we are, so I'll tell you, life should be easy. It should flow. If it's not flowing, we're not following our intuition. We're in our heads too much. We're coming from fear. We do create our own reality constantly. Whether we do that with awareness or not is a whole nother story. But if there's flow, that intuition will come in and you'll recognize that. If it just came to you like that, it's probably intuition. If it becomes a worry, a fear, something you're thinking too hard, it's probably fear, and you're going to manifest something negative, right?
Yeah.
Because you can manifest, that's a whole nother topic, but you just, to simply put it, yes, you do manifest regularly, and you can manifest using your intuition. and have a better experience. Just a little something to leave you with there. Did that answer your question?
I think it's sort of because that's what I try to, I'm getting that. I think it's maybe when I next time when I sense something negative that think that I should put change my thought, change the frequency, maybe can alter the future or whatever.
You can, and actually, that's something. Well, that would be a whole nother topic. But that's something you can absolutely learn to do, and you can find that you can get there quicker and quicker, and in that instant, be able to shift something. So you can use your intuition if you get a hit. An intuitive hit is what I call it sometimes, or a download, or whatever you want. But you get that intuitive knowing. And maybe it's something you don't want to experience. With learning to quickly change your reality, you can shift it to a better outcome. So, I mean, that brings on a whole nother subject, but you absolutely can. And when I'm teaching someone to learn to, say, manifest something, right? Or they want to create more abundance in their life, or they want to create, that they're enjoying their job more. Okay. We have to learn to use the intuition to be able to make that an easier experience for manifesting, for creating. Because again, life should be a dance. If we're not having flow, if we're not flowing well in life, it means we're doing something wrong. Back up and try a different path or a different way, a different route. That's all that means. So yeah, that could be fun to explore more. And those are some of the things that I love teaching about, but they go really, really, really in depth, and it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Falls on you, please.
Dion and David, y'all have a question?
This is what my view of intuition is always driving. When you're behind a slower driver, and you're getting impatient, and you say, well, I want to go ahead, and something says, well, no, let's just stay behind. And all of a sudden you come along and there's a speed cop in the bush right there. And so, yeah, maybe it worked that time. Maybe I better listen to this voice. It's telling me don't get nervous, and then there may be another car passing a bunch of cars and they're driving recklessly. And we get to the stop sign at the 5 seconds behind them. And we're all there waiting at the red light, So is it really worth it, to do all those kinds of things? But that's probably my best example of intuition. Maybe you better stay behind and take 5 more seconds to get there,
Yeah,
or crash on the side of the road,
Oh, exactly.
You might come up upon an accident and you say, man, I could have been in that accident.
Yep, you can time it. I've done that time and time and time again. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because some people would look at that and say, oh, that's my, guides, helpers, angels, whatever. Maybe, but even if it is, they're speaking to you through your intuition, right? And that's how we have to look at it, and we have to trust it, whether or not we believe, or whatever we believe it's coming from. The point is, if you're getting some intuition, you're getting a feeling, you're getting a knowing.
Yeah.
You've
And so
got to trust it.
another example is like this election of 2020. My gut was just burning. I couldn't stand it anymore. I don't know if that's intuition or what. That's the time I turned off the television. I said, I don't want this anymore. It's terrible.
And you didn't want to see it.
Yeah, I don't guess that's intuition. I don't know what you call that.
Well, maybe. So let's look at that. What would you have what do you feel like you'd have felt like or experienced or gone through if you would have continued watching it?
Yeah. Well, I had a panic attack for one of these presidential elections when it was a liberal and we thought a conservative, and, you know, and they kept trying to get the liberal to win and I wasn't for him. And I had a panic attack and I never watched another presidential election again on television. I
That's,
go to bed at like 7 o'clock that night. I don't want to see it.
but your
It'll
intuition is probably exactly telling you, hey, do you really want to experience that again? Life is too short.
because we know they're stealing them. We know they're stealing them. It's not logical, the results.
No,
And so this, when Trump was elected, I got up and I said, well, I got to bite the bullet, you know. But my son had been watching it all night. And he said, guess what? I said, what? He said, Trump won. And I almost hit the floor then because I thought sure they were going to steal it again, you know, but it was rigged for him to win.
but you didn't have to go through the
No.
stress
Oh,
of
no.
watching it. And perhaps your intuition wanted to pull you away from experiencing that stress for your health, for your sleep. I mean, who knows? And that's, again, that speaks to sometimes we don't know what the result would have been if we would have gone, or why were we guided to do that?
Yeah.
Gotta let the attachment go.
And,
We
and
just
that,
have
you
to.
know, that could have been when I was really on a high ego, you know, thinking that my one vote can change the whole thing or something like that, you know, and I got away from that. I don't have that anymore.
That's beautiful. And you bring up another good point, David, the ego. So the ego, obviously we need the ego because it keeps us alive, right? It keeps us breathing and functioning and getting by. But if we live in that too much, then we have more stress, more problems, whatever. It could be financial, it could be health, we don't know. When we get away from being in the ego and we lose the attachment, I shouldn't use the word lose. We give up the attachment to something, right? We give up the attachment to being right. We give up the attachment to knowing why or knowing what would have happened if I would have done that. You have to lose the attachment or get rid of the attachment and just say, who cares? No sweat off my back. Literally let it roll off your back like water on a duck's back, right? Because if we spend so much time thinking in the thinking mind, we're going to stress more and we're not going to have the benefits that our intuition would have provided us with if we just let go of the attachment. And we have to let go of the attachment to being right. Who cares if our intuition is right? I've developed my intuition so well, but it's been over 30 some years that I've been practicing it very, very, very regularly. You know, I was very devoted to developing my intuition. But I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I'm still not always right. I have a pretty high success rate with it, but we have to allow for being human too. And that means we have to let the attachment go because we can't stress about the fact that we're human. We're going to make mistakes. And that's just, part of it. So it'll teach us too along the way if we're following our intuition or not. To this day, there are times where I get an intuitive hit and I don't follow it because of whatever reason. I end up going, oh, why don't I practice what I preach? I'll preach it all day. I'm still human. I will still choose the wrong direction sometimes, and I'll regret it every time. So again, it's use me, my mess ups, as a good reminder. Trust what you get. Just go with it. You'll find life flows more easily and more readily that way too.
Yeah.
Billy and Sue, y'all have a question?
Just a comment. What I was thinking is, if all of a sudden you have an intuitive thought and you recognize it, wouldn't it be cool if all of a sudden, so you're in touch with your higher self when that happens. So it's almost like that your higher self just called you up on the phone, gave you a message. And if you are attuned to it, then you can talk back and say, hey, well, what about tomorrow? Because you have a connection there. That connection is established. Let's make it a two-way conversation.
Absolutely. It's you're spot on with that. When you develop your intuition, you get better and better at having those conversations too with your higher self. And you get better and better at getting more and more and more intuitive answers to keep going, to know what's a little bit further in the future, right? Because that's what brings you into the further into the time and space, okay? Further into the future with it. You don't have to just follow your intuition in the moment for the moment, but you can absolutely keep having those conversations with your higher self and be able to go further and further throughout life, throughout time and space. That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. And it's a good way to use the intuition too. Yeah, David.
So you probably said this already, but how do you develop your intuition? I was distracted with all this other stuff going on.
That's okay. I'm glad y'all made it. So I started to talk about little ways to begin to develop it. There are many, many, many different techniques. I'm actually, I don't want to say this out loud, y'all, because I don't want to commit myself to anything, which is not what my intuition is telling me, right? I did some training many years ago to be able to. I was an instructor in the Body Talk system, and I started training to teach their Mindscape course, which is an intuitive course, how to use your intuition in everyday life. And then I started going through a divorce. And so I said, I'm going to pull out of the program for becoming an instructor for that course. And because I was teaching something else in the system. And I wanted to go through my divorce very consciously. So I said, let me just take a break. And then later the founder, I was on course and we had lunch together. And it was really, you don't get that audience with him. You just don't. And we had lunch and I'm thinking, why are we having, he said, I want you to finish that because I want you to come in and I want you to teach that. And then I want you to start developing your own courses and teach those. I didn't. Long story short, he passed away. He was one of my great mentors. And he was like a granddad to Maya. I mean, it was just wonderful. But I'm going to say this out loud anyway. It's been coming to me that I need to develop my own course on intuition and start teaching it. Because I've had a lot of clients lately in the past few months, just with many, many, many questions about how to develop it, how to use it with what they do, either for career or for everyday life, right? And there are many, many, many different techniques to get there. The key is you've got to use them. And if you don't use them regularly, you don't use it, you lose it. It's so true. The reason being is because it's like a muscle, just like anything else, just like anything else. And again, if we're not using it and practicing, then we're gonna, the muscle gets kind of fades away. We get lazy. And then we start regretting it because we don't know how to trust our intuition enough to utilize it when we really, really need it. Often the case is we everybody gets lazy. Okay. Stop using it for a day or two. I don't have time, or I don't feel well, or I'm tired. And then that turns into a few weeks, and then that turns into months. And then all of a sudden, we are in an urgent situation and need to make a decision, and we don't know how to tap into our intuition to do it. And then we're not able to because we get into the fear mode, right? And then we make the wrong decisions. So one thing is to practice it as regularly as possible. One way I was explaining earlier is as you take a walk or a drive, just feel into where you feel things in your body. It's generally the heart space, which is chest belly area, okay? Because the heart field is so expansive. Feel into that, and then ask yourself as you go along, which way should I turn now? Where should I go this time? What should I do today? Should I have chocolate or should I have vanilla when you get to the ice cream shop? Practice it in little ways. Take a walk on purpose and just feel into where I'm going to follow my intuition. Where am I going to turn? Oh, I think I'm going to go this way. I think I'm going to go this way now. I don't know why. I've done that before, and I've had some of the most beautiful experiences. Or I remember one year I was on course for something else, and we were on a break, and I thought, I don't know what I feel like doing. I wasn't hungry. I didn't need a snack. I'd gone to the bathroom already, and I thought, I'm just going to meander around. And I thought, just follow. I was not familiar with the area I was in, had never been there before. And I thought, well, I'll just follow my intuition. And I just kind of followed where it led and followed where it led. And then I ended up in this room with a grand piano, and I tinkered on that for a little while. Yeah, Willie got excited. I used to play once upon a time, not anymore. And I was just tinkering around, and then I turned around, and on the other end of the room was the couple who was leading the weekend seminar. And, we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. You don't get an audience with them. They were quietly hiding away in a little spot. They didn't want to be bothered. And I turned around, and they said, hey, come over here. And I thought, I don't want to disturb y'all. They said, no. We want to talk to you. We ended up having the most fabulous conversation. And I got to pick their brain on some things that we were learning and go deeper. Had I not followed my intuition on that break and decided, I'm just going to go where my intuition tells me on my walk. I didn't know where I was going. I thought, I could very well get lost because it was in a big resort. And, I figured, well, I'll just follow my intuition back. And if I'm late, I'm late. I was willing to do that. That's the thing. We have to get rid of the attachment to the what ifs. Get rid of the attachment to being right. Or what if I'm wrong? Get rid of the attachment to knowing. Because do we ever really know? The one thing that I know is that I don't know. I'm going to be the first one to tell you. I might know a lot of things about a lot of things. But in the end, the bottom line is, I don't know. How do I know? We don't know. We have to let go of that. We can know a lot. But in the end, I'll give you an example right now. There's been something, we talk about the chakras and about ascension and about Kundalini and about these experiences that we're talking about all the time, right? And I've studied these systems. I've studied these systems for years. And lately I've been getting the feeling, what if it's not about ascension? Because to me, if I sit with it and ask my intuition, and I even made a video on this, I don't know, 2-3 months back. And it's on my YouTube channel. But what if we're not here to really ascend? Because what I've always gotten is we're here to have an experience. The creator, we are fractal bits of the creator, right? This might be the creator of all that is. This might be Joey, this might be Timmy, this might be Susie, this might be Willie, this might be Billy, this might be Sue, this might be Juliet. You know what I'm saying? We're all an extension. We're all bits and pieces of the creator of all that is. Therefore, we are co-creators. Okay? And we're here to feel. Creator just wants to have an experience. What would happen if I pick up this phone? Oh my goodness. It lit up and it told me something. You know, what do I do with this? Well, I can write on it. You know, I mean, we're here to have experiences. We're here to have experiences. And I made this video, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 months back, but something like that, about, I don't know that it's about ascension. I think it's about having these experiences. Then Sue sends this video, and it was a long video. I replayed that thing like 3 times while I'm packing boxes and getting stuff done, because I kept hearing on there, I'm like, did I hear that right? They're talking about, we're not here to ascend. And I thought, that's interesting, because I've been feeling that more and more. So what is that telling me? Was that my intuition? Was it curiosity? I mean, who knows? I was getting it as a feeling inside that I felt like my intuition was telling me, don't go for it. Now, I used to do Kundalini yoga. I've had some light Kundalini experiences, nothing huge, you know, because I already worked on doing these things other ways. I worked in the chakra systems. I worked with all of these things, but with different methods, in different modalities. Okay. And like Kolamni, we use which is an ancient Native American process. In Kolamni, we work with balancing chakras very methodically. In Reiki, I think we use chakras. In Theta Healing, I work with chakras. In many of the systems I work with chakras. And I work with different energies and things like that, the nadis and etc. But something's been telling me there's more to it than meets the eye, because these are energy systems. How deep does that go? And then this video that Sue sent is talking about this stuff too. And I'm thinking, holy cow, you know. Now, I am a believer that somebody in Australia and somebody in Egypt could be coming out with original information, and they could start talking about the same stuff at the same time, or both write a book at the same time, and not know each other, never discussed it, never heard of it before. I do believe when we are tapped into the all that is and listening to our intuition, that we are tapping into information, and it doesn't just come through one person. Just like universal truths didn't just come through Jesus, didn't just come through Buddha, didn't just come through, you know, name any of them, right? Name any of the ascended masters. They all got the information, and they all got the same information. Truth is truth, and we can tap into that and download it, if you will, at any time, which means every single one of you can use your intuition to tap into universal truths, not just what is true for you, but what is. You can tap into what some might call the Akashic records. You can tap into the all that is. Everything is information and light. And we can, each and every one of us, everybody's capable of this. Just because I studied it for 30 some odd 40 years doesn't mean that I'm any better than anybody else at it. And it doesn't mean somebody else isn't capable of it. Everybody's capable of it. Yes, Billy and Sue.
It was me. I think when we listen to also David talking about avoiding something or an accident or something ahead, I think it's that voice that you hear before you hear. Does that make sense?
Makes
There's like a
total
little
sense.
voice in your head that says you need to pick that up, but you need to put something down first or you're going to drop it. And you hear that voice, but you're like, that's the voice that you hear. But the ego says, no, I don't only want to make one trip. And I'm going to pick it all up and make one trip. And that's when you break something.
Yeah, I've never said that.
Okay.
Is she calling you out?
He tells me that. But it's the voice that you hear that you don't want to listen to. It's the voice before the voice. Like when you say that it's just like that you're going to wear something a certain way one day, but you go in there and your ego says, no, I want to wear this. Then you end up going back. You go back to the first choice. It's always the first choice. If you just walk in a room and say, I want something, and it's the first choice is what your intuition, and you didn't listen to it, but to me, that's how trust. There's David.
It's perfect. No, it's really, and I want to kind of go a little bit further with that, Sue, because that was an excellent point. When we just get that intuitive hit, right, while we're not asking for it or looking for it, then yes, it's the first one. When we're looking for an answer and trying to find it intuitively, we have to be careful that we're not thinking it, that we're just going within. Because a lot of times the ego will jump in and give us the first answer. So we have to be, here's another tip, David. You have to center yourself in your heart and feel into that. And when you feel like you go, just sink in and relax. And there's no thought, even if it's for a millisecond. That's part of how you know you're in that space and you can receive intuition better. It's part of practicing, different steps to get there, to be able to utilize your intuition. So the first step should always be centering yourself in your heart. Then practice going for the walks in nature. Nature can give you a lot of intuition. And then I'll try and come up with another one or two quick ones because I'm seeing the time. Yes, David.
Well, I was just going to say that when Sue said the thought before the thought, the first, a lot of times it's so subtle that I barely hear it. And I'm in such a hurry that I don't pay attention to it.
Yep.
You ever feel that way?
That's what your intuition is.
But you ignore it because you're in a big hurry and you got to do all this stuff. And
Yes.
then you drop all the dishes.
And yeah, but it's because we don't practice trusting our intuition enough, right? When you practice using your intuition more and going with it, that voice isn't quite so quiet. And we're more attuned to it. So even if we're busy and hurried, when we get that intuitive hit, we'll go, oh, wait a minute, that was my intuition. Let me stop a minute and slow down and listen to it. What is it telling me? Because if we're not practiced, we're just going to go, what was that? And keep going and regret it, right? But when we practice utilizing our intuition more, then we'll better hear it. It's a little louder. Or even if it's tiny, we'll remember to go, whoops, let me drop down into my heart. And I'll give you a quick way to do that after I answer Marion's question, because I see it's 8:28. Yes, Marion.
Hey, CiCi. The way that I find my intuition is I put my hand over my heart and I raise my vibration And I know that I'm getting it from my gut and my heart only because my mind is not allowed to interfere when I put it over my heart.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you know that's actually a technique from, I think it's many different native cultures, or I don't know.
That's what I do when I'm in my medicine wheel,
Yeah.
in my Cherokee medicine wheel.
Yep.
I find if I put my hand over my heart
Mm-hmm.
while I'm sitting in my different spirit of directions, I can get the intuition so quickly that way because my mind is not allowed to interfere when I do that and
Right.
raise my vibration.
And I think I've heard too, it's the left hand over the heart to do that.
Mhm.
Put your left hand over your heart. And that comes from native traditions across the globe, not just Native Americans, but it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense that you do that in the medicine wheel. It's probably something that came as well from the Native American traditions.
Mhm.
It's very ancient, and put the left hand over the heart. That's an excellent, and that's something we can do to quickly get there too. Quickly make
Right.
a decision. Greg
It's so
Braden
quick.
tells
It's
the
so
story.
quick.
Yeah. Greg Braden
Mhm.
tells the story, that same technique. He was booked for a flight, and I forget what it was, but he had to make a quick decision. And he just quickly went around the corner quietly for a second, put his left hand over his heart and felt into it. What should I do next? And
Mhm.
I think there was a problem with the flight, and he said, nope, I'll lose the money. I'll lose the ticket. I'm not getting on. And
Okay.
it saved his life. So excellent tip. Excellent tip. It's a quick way, not just to utilize tapping into the intuition, but to center yourself in your heart for anything.
Mhm.
So it's 8:30. Y'all want a quick little guide in centering yourself in your heart space to know that you're tapping into your higher self to be able to get your intuition?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to make it quick. It's probably not going to take us as deep if it's real quick, but what you can do is practice this. Practice it as often as you can. Take 5 minutes, 15 minutes if you can at a time, and practice this daily if you can. And I'm going to let you know now, since we're going to do this very quickly, the result you're looking for so that you'll know when you've gotten there. And this is how to contact your higher self so that you know when you're getting information from your higher self for your intuition. Because a lot of people talk about the higher self and that, oh, yeah, there's all kinds of ways and you can do this and that. And then we walk away going, but how do I do it? So I'm just going to let you know this. This is a mini one, but it may or may not get you there this time. But if you allow some time, you'll get there. And what the result you're looking for is you're going to feel kind of above and behind you, right? Like say there's somebody, if you're 6 feet tall, maybe it's somebody who's 7 to 8 to 10 feet tall, standing right behind you. They're going to be above and behind kind of, and when you're in that space, you can literally almost see your head and you have this bigger expanded view. It's not that you are rising up there. Your higher self is already up there. It's that your awareness is expanded. And that's what you're looking for. The other thing you're going to feel is this calm, quiet, centered, peaceful state. And that's how you'll know you're connected to your higher self, when you also have that kind of view from above and behind coming this way. Okay. That's you center yourself in your heart enough, you'll get there. And then you know you're communicating with your higher self. You can utilize that for many things, but you can also utilize it for saying, okay, I want to talk to my higher self and get intuition from my higher self. So everybody close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths in and out and begin to relax. Yawns are good. It means the energy is moving. So enjoy that space. And I want you to imagine there's a golden bubble right above your head. And allow that bubble to drop into your head and go down through the head, through the neck, down the spine, till it reaches your heart. And we're going for the heart space here, which, remember, you're going to feel when it lands. And it could be anywhere in the chest belly area. And breathe into that until you feel it land. You might see it as a light. You might see the bubble there. You might feel it. You may just know it. And when you stay in the heart space, and keep the mind quiet, you can start to get a sense of the higher self that is that direct divine connection for you. And that's that connection to the all that is. And if you feel like you're there, take a moment and ask something you'd like to know. And just notice what you notice. And I'm going to bring you back. But I want you to try and keep your attention in that heart space. And while you're in that heart space, you can open your eyes and notice what you notice. From there, you can use your intuition in daily life. Eyes wide open. I know it's a few minutes after 8:30. I would love to hear your experiences if y'all want to share them with me. Thank you, Juliana. I think everybody knows how to reach me. If not, Willie, Juliana, and Sue all know how to reach me, and Chu, and I think David and Dion, and y'all feel free to just give my number out if anybody needs it. I don't care who has it. Because I don't think I'm supposed to give out contact information on the Zooms.
You can put your email in the chat if you like.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll put my email in the chat and y'all have that. Oh, it didn't do right. Sorry. Okay, there we go.
Thank you, CiCi. That was good.
Yeah. Did y'all get anything?
It was a good discussion.
Yes, I loved it.
Yes.
It was fabulous.
I hope y'all got something usable out of it.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
My little
Good.
golden bubble will be practicing.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
You can play with it with all kinds of things, whatever works for you. It might be a pebble dropping in through thick water. It might be pretend you're a big eyeball like Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. And you go down, get in an elevator, open the elevator, but the elevator should open from the bottom to the top, not side to side, and go down the elevator. And then when you're in your heart, open the elevator like the big eyeball looking out. I mean, play with it, make it yours, make it what it feels. Maybe it's a butterfly that flutters down, whatever works for you best, because it's your intuition and you're tapping into your higher self. So I hope y'all do play with it and let me know your experiences, because I think that's exciting. Thank y'all so much. Thanks for having me. I love talking about intuition.
Thank you,
was
CiCi.
beautiful. That was beautiful.
I'm glad y'all enjoyed it, and thanks for coming. I'm glad. I hope that Rick and Ellen are okay, and I hope Sherry's feeling better. Sue, I hope you're feeling better. I hope Ziggy's better. Y'all are all in my thoughts.
Thank you so much. And we'll decide what we want to do during August, maybe next week. How's that? Because we can relax in August if we want to. We don't have to. We can do our regular meetings if we feel like it. Because they're getting ready, something's getting ready to explode in September.
Do you think it'll take that long?
Well, that seems to be the plan, because the getting ready is what's intensive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the Biden is out. So next day is Kamala Harris. And then September.
Y'all want me to, can I read something to y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see.
come on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have found it first. Oh, Sue, maybe I sent it to you on I did. Okay. There's this lady, her name is Jennifer, and she speaks to archangels. And then apparently this one, she spoke to Jesus. Yes. Wait, what's today's date? The 22nd or 23rd?
22nd.
22nd.
Okay, well, today she has, okay, then today she says, Jesus speaks. The political part, she says, the cabal's plan is for Biden to resign. Kamala takes office, then enacts executive orders to make it possible to steal the election. They want her to usher in the Agenda 2030/world takeover. She passes away from illness. Military steps in October publicly, which we know they're already there behind the scenes now. Change to election cycle, new elections under Republic rules. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then he also said the RV part. The RV is proceeding as planned, waiting now for Biden to resign, which he did. That will happen anytime now. Could happen today. Well, how about that? That was yesterday. And maybe more today. I hadn't really been on it lately. Also, he says, I see rulers falling and leaving office in USA, England, etc. They are removing opposition. Transitional week ahead. Jesus said, remain calm. I am in command. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
Because a lot of what she says that she gets has actually been a little off in time wise, but it's been happening. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I agree. I think it's going to happen in October.
There's a
And
lot happening already. I think it's just ramping up, and it's going to be pretty intense this month and next. And then probably something in September and October. And then I hear December, but I don't know what.